world full of Uniteds.
It is a magic moment from Heung-min Son!
Cities.
Through to Lucas Moura!
And rovers.
Harry Kane! Oh, what a goal!
There is only one Hotspur.
It's glory, glory, Tottenham Hotspur!
Hello and welcome back to the One Hotspur podcast. I'm Toby from Spurs Center, and today I am joined by Azaria from Spurs.extra and Charles from CB Designs. And we're going to be talking a bit about the Nuno appointment, some transfer rumors, and just, I guess, a general preview of the upcoming season. But yeah, let's get into it. How you guys doing?
Good. I'm doing good. I mean, it's been a while since I've came on, but excited to be back on again. I'm doing good. Hope you're doing the same.
Glad to have you.
Yeah,
So,
same here. I'm doing pretty well as well.
in case you've been living under a rock, Spurs appointed Nuno this week and met with a bit of a range of reactions, should I say. Some fans are pretty happy about it. Others are underwhelmed. Charlie, we can start with you. What were your initial thoughts on the appointment of Nuno?
You know, a lot of fans, as you said, feel that this was just we only got Nuno because he was the only one willing to join us, and it's underwhelming, and we could have got Conte and all that rubbish, but really, I think except for Ten Hag, Poch, and I mean Conte was unrealistic from the start. He just won the league. He would be really unrealistic. So at the end of the day, only Ten Hag and Poch, and possibly Ragnick were better options, really. So I think it's a pretty decent appointment, and I'm really confident because, Wolves had a bad season last season, but that was more down to injuries than to just he needed to go more defensive because he had less attacking options.
Yeah.
But the 2 seasons before with Wolves and his amazing seasons with Valencia and Porto, I think he could really do well with us with his direct style of football. So yeah, I'm pretty excited as long as we make the good the right signings.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's also worth noting, you said his lack of attacking options. He lost Jota over the summer through a sale to Liverpool, and then he lost Jimenez. So probably his two best forward players he lost for the majority of the season, which is difficult to work with as a manager. So that's tough. But Azaria, we can move on to you. What were your initial thoughts on the appointment of Nuno?
You were spot on when you talked about how his injuries affected him, and at first when he was linked, I think he was linked a while back, but it wasn't he wasn't heavily linked. But last week or 2 weeks ago, the rumors became stronger and stronger. At first, I was no, very underwhelming. I think the whole fan base, pretty much. I personally believe the whole fan base was under the same idea that it was very underwhelming. We shouldn't appoint him. And watching WA, We Are Tottenham TV. I was watching their videos and seeing what they were saying, and but when we started moving along, and last 2 weeks when it started becoming, the rumors started to become stronger, and the man Fabio Paratici, our sporting director, his willingness to put Nuno Espirito Santo in the managerial position when we need a rebuild at this time, and how you could tell that they have a project and they know what they want to do, and because he's experienced. Fabio Paratici is very experienced, and he's done very good. And the fact that he brought someone like Nuno Espirito Santo just because he liked him and he appreciated him, leaving everything else, makes me excited. And at the end of the day, it's been 70 days since we had a real manager other than our interim one, Rad Mason. But that also the fact that we got a manager gave me joy. But
Yeah.
I feel we have a big summer and a big season ahead, especially a big summer.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the summer has to be huge if we're going to really push on and try to get back into that top six. I was looking through a
Yeah.
thread on Twitter from a Spurs web sub about like what he wanted this season, and he was saying a trophy and top six would be like the ideal situation. Which this is kind of sad, but I feel like that might be almost setting our sights too high. Like a trophy, which hasn't been achieved by any manager at Spurs in the past decade, or yeah, decade. So I don't think we should get too like overexcited about this season.
Can I
Like
be
we learned
honest?
that. Yeah, go
Can
for
I
it.
be honest? Top four is already out. I mean, let's
Yeah.
be honest. I
Let's
mean,
not.
if you look at the teams, the top four, top five is already solidified. I mean, Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Man U, Leicester, all bringing in world-class players, and they're already
Yeah.
miles ahead of us right now. I just can't see us getting into that. But I mean, we
Meanwhile,
potentially
Spurs
finish
are.
fifth, but still, you know.
Yeah.
I
Meanwhile,
mean,
Spurs are 2 million off the evaluation
Tommy,
of
yes.
Tommy Yasu, who like I'm at least I hadn't heard of before we were linked with him. But actually,
No,
he's
but
another
if you
player.
ask me, I mean, I'll go into that later in the vid. But Tommy Asu is
Mhm.
more about all the kit sales and stuff that we'd get out of him than just him, but himself.
No, he's
But
not.
no, I mean, he's still an upgrade on obviously our defense. But what I'm saying is that's also a big factor in it, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, we just really need to step up as a club.
Yeah.
If we want to challenge the top dogs, which I just can't see happening in the next 2 years. But yeah.
Yeah, I think ultimately, I mean, Nuno would have to have some of like that Poch juju if we were going to challenge for the top four in the next season or two. But he'd also need a lot of help from Levy. I can't see Tottenham getting into the top four with a starting center back pairing of Dyer and Sanchez. Alistair Gold just posted an article a few minutes ago saying that Spurs were looking to move on Alderweireld and one of Dyer or Sanchez. So that would be freaking great. I'd love to see us get rid of two center backs and replace them with new, higher quality ones, and then Tomiyasu as a replacement for Aurier.
And you know what's good about getting rid of Alderweireld? Obviously, he'll be really heavily missed, and I was pretty sad when I saw the news. But at the same time, that means that we're guaranteed that we're going to buy a centre back, you know.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a good thing. But also, that's really good that you just said that, because I was getting worried because, as I mentioned before, you know, there's been rumours, you know, we might move on. So we're going to move on Winks, Sissoko, Lamella, maybe even Lucas and all that. But Dyer was never mentioned in those names. And it's just so annoying that our club's so protective over him just because he's, I don't know, English, I guess. But it was just so annoying.
Yeah.
So
And the funny thing about that is he doesn't even count
I,
as English and like the homegrown thing because he was trained in Portugal.
I'd definitely get rid of him over Sanchez, to be honest. I think I still think Sanchez can be a backup. I still do think so. Maybe, but
I think I'd keep Dyer over Sanchez. Just
really?
A, because I think Sanchez would bring in more money, and
Good
B,
point, actually.
say what you will about Dyer, but his mentality is pretty solid. So I think just like having someone like that at the
I
club.
guess so.
Although keep him away from the starting 11 as much as possible,
I'm gonna tell you something about what's his name, there's just a core issue with our defenders. It's just that there's such a huge lack of consistency where you would see a player have a decent performance and then the next day they're like shambles at the back, and it's just so frustrating. And
the lack of
when
consistency.
we talk, like, I feel like it's a lack of again, like, I think it's a lack of experience and talent. It's because it's hard to say because all of our players have had experience in big moments, but they're just unable to. They're just unable to be consistent. And when we see if we might talk about it in later in the pod, but I just want to talk a little bit about Julius Koundé, the Sevilla center back. Like he's just one of the players I feel like Fabio Paratici should invest and get this deal over the line, because first of all, it would be he's such a pivotal. He can control, and he's also like he moves up the pitch a little bit, and he's just one of those players where these are the type of players Spurs need, where he's young. I believe he's like I'm not sure, but if I'm not mistaken, he's 26. Let me check that real quickly.
Mhm.
But
His age? He's 22.
he's 22. Sorry. It's just I feel like these players that there's a lot of players we need to invest in this summer, and definitely the big part is the defense, and it's important that whether they stay or leave, we bring in these quality players like Kunde, and I would take Anderson over Dyer and what's his name, Sanchez, any day.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I
obviously.
would, yeah, and just bring in these players, and like there could be, you never know, there could be like a clash, like a motivation where Dyer and Sanchez have to step up their performances in order to get starting time like they did this season. And that kind of stuff can push the squad to become better. Looking at the Nuno Espirito Santo first interview, talking about him saying we want the best from everybody. I feel like it's a big summer. It's a big summer ahead.
Mhm.
Yeah, but
on Jules Koundé really quickly. Sorry, Charlie, you can go talk after me. But it's looking
he's
like
not
that deal
coming.
is already starting to fall apart. With Koundé keen to play in the Champions League, and Spurs not interested in paying his 50 million price tag. Which, I mean, I don't blame Koundé for not wanting to come to Spurs. Not in Champions League, not even in Europa League. We don't even have the draw of a world-class manager anymore, which was pretty pivotal to the signings of Højbjerg and Reguilon last summer. So now we're left with the really bottom tier European competition in the Conference League, and a pretty, I mean, Nuno's all right. Like he doesn't have a big reputation. So there's no big draws to Tottenham right now. So that's like we need to be focusing on recruitment. So
The
that's like
stadium
when
and facilities is all we have left, and
yeah,
playing with
exactly.
Harry Kane.
Those are the only big draws we have, and it looks like Kane might even leave this summer. So
Yeah, so
I still don't think he will. But like if you're just a player looking at the club, and like you can't really consider playing with Kane as a draw because you have no idea if he's actually still going to be there come the end of the summer. So just this summer, I think we have to trust Fabio Paratici, and if he goes after players that maybe aren't as high up the totem pole, aren't as highly rated, we just have to trust him. Players like Tomiyasu, and because I mean, you look at other teams like Leicester, they're out there, they're signing players who aren't super well known, but I mean, they've come good for them. I mean, the signings
So,
of James Madison,
I
Harry
mean,
Maguire.
this might be I mean a bit far, but honestly, what I've seen of Somare, I mean, he's on Ndombele's level from what I've seen of him. Maybe I'm wrong, but hopefully I'm wrong. But yeah, he seems to be very good, absolute steal for them. And also, I just think, if I'm being honest, this might be a bit optimistic, but I'm sure we'll get Tomiyasu. I mean, surely we'll get him. I'm almost 100% sure we'll get him, and I'm pretty sure we're going to get Anderson as well. I don't think we'll get Koundé because I mean I can't see our board spending 50 million on a centre back. Same with Skriniar. So I'm confident we're going to get Tomiyasu and Anderson, and we might get another centre back, but
Like
someone
Milinkovic.
else. Yeah, Milinkovic.
I think Milinkovic would be another good one.
Hasn't Milinkovic's price tag gone quite down, like to 20 mil or something?
Yeah, I think it was like 25 million.
Yeah,
Which
and
I think that'd be great.
a while back they were asking for like 50, so we've done a good job to get it down.
Yeah. So yeah, just like I was saying, I think we need to be ready to sign players that maybe aren't at like that world-class level that we expect. And there's a lot of talk about how Daniel Levy is like this transfer genius and a brilliant businessman, but like if you look at our transfer flow over the past 5 years, it's been like it hasn't been great in terms of we've been spending a lot of money but not getting that money back in. And now we're in
Yeah,
a place where we don't have a ton of money to spend. So it's like it's really key that we move out these deadwood players. And I know there's a lot of people that don't want to see Lucas Moura leave the club, but I think he's someone who could bring in a big fee, and he's not that great for us. Like, let's be honest
I've
here.
actually been thinking about it, and I think I have to agree with you. I mean, as I say a lot, Lucas has his moments of brilliance, but he's the
Mhm.
most inconsistent player in the world.
Yeah.
And he, as I usually say, dribbles past 5 players and then wastes the ball, and
Yeah.
just doesn't know what to do with it. So
Mhm.
if we can get like 25 or 30 million for him, that is great.
Mhm. I mean, looking just at like the big teams too, like Man United when they were having their really big spell at the top, they sold players that were in their prime to bring in the money that they could then spend on more players. So just I think it's key, should I say, to sell players when it's the right time. And I mean, and it's long past time that we should have sold some of these players. I mean, Dyer, Sanchez, Aurier, Sissoko. We could have gotten much bigger fees for these players if we had sold them even last window. So it's frustrating because I mean, like I said when I started talking about this, is just Daniel Levy has this reputation as being such a good businessman, but at the end of the day, he's been mediocre, I think.
And
But
sorry, I wanna, and that's why I love that we went out and got Fabio Paratici, because it's just like I feel like there's just been a missing link between the manager and Daniel Levy, and there has to be someone in the middle to orchestrate who comes in and who comes out and all that stuff. And the fact that we got Fabio Paratici to control the transfers and all that stuff much more is very well, because this could help. I mean, from now on, maybe we could like show better recruitment than we have in the past,
Mhm.
due to our signing of the sporting director. I feel like that's good. That's very good.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm sure that a lot of Spurs fans would agree with me when I say that Fabio Paratici is the best thing we've done since sacking Poch. So
Mm.
actually, I mean, we did sign Højbjerg in that, but
Yeah.
except for signings, he's the best thing
Yeah.
we've done since sacking Poch. And I think I totally agree with you that there's something missing between the manager, but and Levy. But that's the thing. I mean, Nuno is not gonna. He's gonna be the coach, not the manager. Same with Poch.
Yeah.
It's always the same. Poch said it. When you're never the top the manager, you're the top coach. And this is a problem with Levy, and he just cannot begin to fathom the fact that managers are also there to choose the players they want. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully Fabio will um, get Levy to get a grip and kind of spend big. I mean, spend a lot, but on smaller players. Just balance it out, balance the squad out, and
Mhm.
as you said about Leicester signing more unknown players. We have to take that gamble where we're going to sign these less known players who might have quite good potential. These unknown names, but it's all about the scouts here, because we are literally relying on the scouts to find these hidden gems who will not cost much, but who could really be a big name for us in the future. So really, we have
Mhm.
to take this gamble and sign these less known players, and hopefully, it'll be a steal in a few years.
Yeah. And I think um that's like kind of what I was going off from earlier is we have to try to sign like some of these younger players. I mean, our recruitment in the past just hasn't been great. I mean, 25, I think it's 25 million on Serge Aurier, 40 million on Davinson Sanchez. So it's just we have to spend our money smart because you don't have to um, you don't have to spend big to win things. I mean, that's the
Yeah,
easiest way to do it. But if you spend smart, like you can make it. And I think Leicester is a great example of that. So just we have to spend smart.
yeah, keep going.
Højbjerg is a great example of that. That was a really smart buy. 15 million total. He was in the final year of his contract. Like that was an excellent deal. Like credit to whoever wanted that deal to go through and organized it. But I mean, just looking at last summer too. I mean, Doherty, I think that was 12 million and kind of down the drain in that respect. Hopefully he comes good this season back under Nuno.
Well, you can't blame them for that, really. I mean, he was supposed to be good. Same with Sanchez. I mean, I know 40 million for Sanchez was still too much.
That's their job, though.
But
it's their job to figure out if players are going to be good. So I mean, you can.
I know, but Sanchez was fantastic for Ajax, and we were expecting him to be the next Virgil. I don't think they can do much when
he wasn't this insane player for Ajax. I mean, in the Europa League final against Man United, Jose Mourinho told them to target Sanchez because he was the weak link. So we're spending 40 million on the weak link from Ajax. Like,
yeah, but at the same time, I mean, you're forgetting how good Sanchez was in his first season. I mean, he wasn't amazing, but he was, I'd say, pretty good in his first season for us.
40 million for pretty good for one season is overspending.
Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying we shouldn't totally put the blame on the people that signed him. I mean, we did expect much more from him.
But that's their job. Yeah. Like, that's what I'm saying is we spent 40 million on a player that was pretty good for one season.
I guess so.
I get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying. But I'm also trying to like show that we have to hold them up to like a higher standard if we're going to be successful.
Yeah, but what you were saying about Leicester, the difference is Leicester have probably, I'd say, the best owners in the Prem, maybe after Abramovich, but then again, Abramovich has a lot of money. Leicester's owners spend it smart. So, I just think Leicester's infrastructure and their staff and everything is absolutely class. So I don't think we're on their level. But also, I was thinking we should also mention, not many people have talked about it, but we should really mention the appointment that Nuno brought in assistant coach, goalkeeping coach, and fitness coach Ian Caffro, Rui Barbosa, and Antonio Diaz. I was looking up a bit on them, and all three of them have been with Nuno before. And I was pretty impressed by this Ian Caffro, the assistant manager. He's previously been at Ave with him, at Valencia with him, and he also was at Newcastle and managed Hearts in Scotland. So I'm pretty impressed by him. So we'll see how he does. Yeah.
Hopefully, you can coach those mistakes out of Lloris. But yeah, do you guys want to get into some transfer rumors?
Yeah.
All right, first one I want to talk about
there's
is
been a lot of news from Alasdair Gold coming out.
Yeah, there has. But first one I want to talk about is our links to Miralem Pjanic. What would your thoughts be on him?
Well, we were discussing this the other day. Obviously, a lot of Spurs fans are underwhelmed by this. You know, a lot of them probably think he's washed, and you know, he's slow, he's old, but he's really not that old. He's 31.
Yeah,
and I think he's honestly one of the top. I mean, he's one of the top midfielders of the last decade. I mean, maybe top 20. I mean, on his day, he's absolutely class. Yes, he didn't play much for Barca, but you showed his stats the other day. I mean, there's absolutely class stats for them. The small amount he played. And
I'll read those out really quickly for the listeners. So he played 19 games, of those 6 were starts just in La Liga, and he had a 91% pass accuracy, 100% dribble success rate. And those are really just the 2 key ones. But then he also had 12 key passes, 11 interceptions. So I mean, he didn't play a lot, so these aren't as impressive. But I think the 91% passing accuracy and 100% dribble success rate, that's something that could really be beneficial to the team. I think he'd be a massive upgrade on Sissoko, especially just coming out that he'd be on a free. So,
and it's not just that. I mean, I think he could even be. I mean, he wouldn't be a starter, but I think he could actually start quite a few games because I mean, he could. I mean, he's not the same position as Eriksen, but he could he would be the first player since we've sold Ericsson that can really ping those balls, that can find the players, because his passing is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
As you said, with the 91% passing accuracy, obviously he's not that kind of player. He's more defensive. He's like a deep lying playmaker.
Mhm.
But I think he could really help us in that situation because we really struggle to get the ball up the pitch. We're always relying on Kane to do that. So I
Mhm.
think he definitely for free. I mean, that's a bargain in my opinion.
Yeah.
For 1 or 2 seasons, that would be a good signing.
I think he'd be really beneficial in the conference league. We're expecting to be playing a pretty young side in those games, so having maybe someone a little older, more experienced, to lead
That's
them,
a good
I think
point.
that'd be a good move.
Yeah,
Then
yeah,
he'd also get more minutes in games like the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup.
yeah.
Um,
I'm confident. I think we won't finish top four. I mean, unless some miracle happens. I mean, you never know because look at Chelsea. They were eighth. Tuchel came in. They finished fourth and got to the Champions League final. Obviously, they made a lot of signings and they were already the better team when they were eighth than us. But at the same time, players like Rudiger and Christensen, totally average players when Lampard was the manager. Totally average. Rudiger was still better than Dyer and Sanchez, but he wasn't like anywhere near where he is now. Tuchel came in. Rudiger is one of the best centre backs in the Prem right now.
mhm.
So, things can change quickly. You never know. Maybe Eric Dyer becomes the next Virgil van Dijk next season.
No,
But
no.
yeah, that's not going to happen. But you know what I'm trying to say. Players like Lo Celso,
Mhm.
players that have been pretty
Yeah.
underwhelming, could really turn up next season.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. You're correct, 100%. Watching Tuchel come in and like transform the side, it's just so fascinating how he got his side to play such beautiful football when like Lampard, in my opinion, Lampard should get like almost most of the credit for make like he just served Tuchel a platter, and then Tuchel led on from there. But yeah, like I feel you never know that could happen, and I want to touch on what's his Miralem Pjanic deal. Saw him in Juventus. He was good. It was good. He played good in Juventus, and then they did a trade with Artur, and then he went to Barca. Artur came to Juventus, hasn't played. I think you just said 19 games this season.
Mhm.
Am I correct?
Yeah. 19
Yeah.
games, 6 starts.
Yeah. Very underwhelming. Very underwhelming. Personally, I don't want him at all because we have to think of the fact that we're on rebuild right now. We're trying to rebuild, meaning that we're trying to get people from youth and people from young.
Mhm.
We're trying to get people from
I
youth and
just
young.
thought of something. I said I want Pjanic, but I didn't really think about the fact that his wage would be pretty high. It depends on that really. If he's
I think if we're gonna sign Pjanic, it's not gonna be on high wages. I think he has to
yeah,
accept that. I think Barcelona is trying to release him as well. So I think he's got to accept that his next move is not going to be on high wages.
yeah. Also, one thing, Barca also forcing
What was that? I think you muted
oh,
yourself.
sorry. Yeah. What I was saying is Barca also forcing Titi out for free,
Hmm.
and yeah, the goat himself, Titi, is available. So, would you take him for free?
Yeah, I think I would. Like
Uh,
you said, it's on a free. So I
yeah,
think depending on the wages, as long as the wages weren't too high, I think I'd take him. I mean, provided that we also sign another very strong center back. I think having like a back four, or not a back four, but like 4 center backs of
yeah.
Umtiti, Rodon, probably Dyer or
Iniesta,
Sanchez,
Anderson.
and then yeah, and then whoever that big center back signing is, fingers crossed it's like Milinkovic or Skriniar or Kunde, even though I don't think Kunde or Skriniar is going to happen. But maybe if we do get a center back in on a free, that gives us some more money that we can spend to maybe bring in someone like Kunde or someone like Skriniar. But we'll have to just kind of wait and see and how it plays out. But I wanted to talk about Pjanic just a little more on Azaria's point that we're trying to rebuild here and bring in older players isn't like the best idea. And I agree to that I agree with that to an extent, but I think it's also you got to keep in mind that he's on a free, so we don't have a ton of money to bring in all those young players right now. So I think just bringing in someone like Pjanic and then also bringing in Oliver Skip so that we'd have like those holding midfielders of Højbjerg, Pjanic, Skip, Dombele, Lo Celso. I think that's overall a pretty young team. And then just like having a little experience and leadership in there would be pretty solid.
Yeah, I agree. Also, yeah, I think we should move on from Pjanic now. But yeah, I still want him in as long as we get those wages pretty low. But at the same time, yeah, as I mentioned, Dallas Golders came out with a lot of news
I was
today, but it wasn't really about signing players. It was more about our players that we already have. So, for example, Sessegnon and Skip, the club was thinking, what to do with them, but they will stay at the club, and we will see how that they will see how they want to see how they will develop under Nuno, which is good news. Also, Nuno seemingly wanted to sign Sessegnon for Wolves.
Yeah,
and he
I'm really
forced it a
excited to
lot.
see how that turns out.
Yeah, and he's really exciting to work with Sessegnon. So maybe Reguilon will be sidelined quite more than we expect. You never know. But
I'm also
yeah, it'll be very
interested a little
interesting.
to see if Sessegnon gets converted back to like a left winger. I think that's where he enjoyed
Yeah.
the best season
Also,
of his career.
imagine seeing
at Fulham.
Reguilon and Sessegnon together. That would
Yeah,
be
I think that
interesting.
would be exceptional.
But then again, where does Son play? I guess if we
I think
play
Son could
two
play
up
off
front,
the right, maybe.
maybe.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes, but I think it would just be
Yeah.
interesting.
Let's
To
just
see
say
like,
Nuno has a lot of options when
I
it
want
comes
to.
to the.
You're right. Sorry. I want to talk about like basically the only reason that I would get Pjanic was probably because he's like you would say, I mean, it's basketball terminology, but he's a veteran. So he's one person that is experienced, and he's been in the big stages, and those are the kind of players that no matter if you're playing on the bench or if you're a starter, that can develop a team. And uh, that's that. And I also want to talk about uh, happy to see Sessegnon and Nuno play together. Yeah, there was news that he wanted him back at Wolves when he was the manager of Wolves, and I'm also very happy to see Skip coming back. And now he's got his playing time. He knows what it feels, and I feel he's developed much more as a player. And we saw his stats, and they were very well. They were very good in Norwich, and we have a lot of young stars that we could Nuno and Fabio could experiment with to see uh, if we need more or if we should bring more from the youth team or stuff like that. Sorry, there was a doorbell. That's why.
Also, I just saw a comment on Toby's post about Pjanic 30 minutes ago, and I forgot to mention that the comment was, "We are dying for set piece specialists. Yes, please." That is also a big factor in this. As I said, he's not the position Ericsson was playing, but he's got some of the qualities that Ericsson had that we are definitely missing. So yeah,
he's good at free kicks. Surprisingly, I was seeing his days in Juventus. Very good free kick taker.
Yeah.
And we can't we were using Dyer as our free kick shot, free kicks. Even Dyer,
and Kane.
Gio was shooting them sometimes. Kane was doing. We had a lot, but bringing him in will also give us that benefit.
To be honest, I don't think Lo Celso got enough of a chance to take free kicks because he only took like 2 or 3, and almost all of them were pretty good. I mean, he had that one against Leipzig, I remember, which almost went in, and literally Kane's taken like 15 out. Kane literally took like 30 free kicks last season, and most of them just hit the wall.
I think it's coming down to like it came down last season to like a reputation thing. Like Kane's got the biggest reputation, so he's the one who takes the penalty. Or sorry, not the penalty, the free kick, which is just the wrong way to do it. I mean, I love Kane, but he's awful at free kicks.
Awful,
like I'd rather see Dyer take.
I mean,
like,
he
Dyer
was also very unlucky.
Closer.
He hit the post like 5 times or something. But
okay, but like I could hit the post that many times if I took that many free kicks. Like it's just he's awful at free kicks. Like we really need someone else to be taking them. he did come close a couple times, but for the amount of free kicks he's taken, like he still hasn't scored an outright free kick for Tottenham. He scored two.
And they both hit
Technically
the
they
wall,
were free kicks, but they both deflected off the wall, which is the only reason they went in. One against Sunderland and one against Aston Villa, and those were both quite a while ago. So yeah, anyone else but Kane. Another player I want to talk about is Eric Lamela. He is expected to leave Tottenham this summer.
Yeah.
So if we do have a winger leave, I'd expect a winger to replace them. So we were linked with Marcus Thuram a while ago, and Nicholas Gonzalez. Is there anyone
Don't forget
specific?
Damsgaard as well.
Oh, Damsgaard, yeah. We just linked with him a couple days ago. I'd really interested to see Damsgaard come in.
Yeah, I think he's a great player. He's not the quickest player, but
Wonderful performance in the Euros.
some stuff that he can do with the ball, Damsgaard. I mean, some of his close-up dribbling. I mean, it's immense, to be honest. I'd be really interested in getting him. He's a perfect replacement for Lamela because Lamela isn't quick either, but he's good on the ball sometimes. So he's almost the perfect replacement.
Lamela is he's personally one of my least favorite players who wears the Tottenham shirt, and getting someone like Damsgaard, definitely one of Denmark's best players in the Euros so far. Wonderful, and he's just been there all the time, getting in goals and assists, and he's been very well. And if we can get someone like him, or even get Gonzalez, that would be very, very good.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I think is there anything else you guys want to talk about before we wrap up?
Also, there was Alizar Gold also came out saying that Winks would be happy to stay at the club, which is absolutely awful to see. But yeah, I mean, I still think that Winks could have a role at the club as a backup, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? Because Nuno uses a lot of mids. So I honestly, I mean, I wouldn't be too against him staying. Obviously, not starting like he was under Mason. But
yeah.
I mean, I'd rather just get money for him, to be honest.
I think, I mean, all Gold said was that Winks would be happy to stay at Tottenham next season. That doesn't mean he's going to stay at Tottenham next season. I mean, I'd still expect us to sell him this summer. I'm still holding out hope that the only reason Ryan Mason was playing Winks so much was so that it would raise his transfer value. And I'm really hoping that that's what it came down to. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Well, that doesn't really matter right anymore. Ryan Mason has gone back to coaching the youth. So
yeah, come back to
I'm pretty sure.
academy.
I'm pretty sure Nuno can see quality in players more than Mason's mates football club.
All right. I think we covered just about everything that I wanted to cover today. Is there anything else that you guys want to add?
Yeah, I think we've covered pretty much everything when it comes to Nuno. I mean, we won't. We'll have another.
Wait,
we'll have a YouTube video.
One second before you guys wrap up. I just want to see. It's been linked for a while. Just want to know if you guys have talked about it already, or should we talk about Marcel Sabitzer and his role if he comes reports a month back or so saying he would be available for 15 million this summer. Would you guys want him in?
Well,
We haven't
obviously,
been linked with him in a while,
but we haven't been linked in a while.
Him.
I mean, but at the same time, I think we haven't been linked. I mean, you never know because when they asked him about Tottenham, he said, "Oh, I'm just concentrating on the Euros right now." So maybe that's the only reason it's kind of stale. But I still think it could happen, which would be a brilliant signing. For 15 million. I mean, that's one of the biggest bargains in football. So yeah, but
I've always said that Tottenham need creativity in the middle. Ndombele, creative player, not so much Højbjerg, but I think Ndombele needs like a co-star to work with him. And this Sabitzer, very versatile player. He's very attackive. He can play in the 10 position. He can also play in the middle, right, in a 4-3-3 position. So he can do a lot. But
I think I've talked about this before. But Sabitzer had a pretty bad year last season.
Yeah,
he got 8 goals and 3 assists, which is good if you look at it just like that. But but 4 of his goals were scored via a penalty. So
That's poor.
yeah, so that, I
But
mean, if he was playing in a team with Harry Kane, that would have been 4 goals and 3 assists in the Bundesliga, which, I mean, was the league that Timo Werner came from. I think he scored 20 something goals, and then he came to the Premier League and only scored 6.
Yeah, but
Um,
Savitz's job isn't really to score, though. I mean, he
that's
did much more than that.
exactly. Thank you. That
But we already
Sabitzer.
have players like Sabitzer that's role isn't to score. I mean, we already have Dombele and Lo Celso, who I think are good
Yeah,
enough.
but yeah, no,
But
I don't.
Sabitzer is like completely different caliber than, in personal opinion. He's better than Lo Celso and all those players. But except in Dombele, because one, we need a creative player in the middle to work alongside Ndombele. And that's been very clear this year, because that midfielder player
I agree with that.
has changed a lot this year.
Yeah, I
It
agree.
went from Lucas Moura to we've played Winks in some days, we've played Lamela in some days. There's just been such a huge amount of players that we've rotated in that position that are not able to provide consistently. And we've always had to play the same position, because the same formation, my bad, because it's just that we just don't know how to play like in another way, because we don't have players that are consistent, and we just have to like keep doing the same thing all over again. And that's something that hurts Tottenham. We need to be able to be versatile and be able to change our formation and change our position based on the opponent and how they play. And I think Nuno is very well in coming against the top 6 sides. I believe this year it was I believe it was 10 10 draws, 9 wins, and then like I believe it was 10 losses against the top 6 side, something like that. And I might be wrong, but 10 of them came after he lost all his players, after Raul Jimenez and everything this season. 10 of them came this season, and we need to be able to find versatile players, find players that can play in
Yeah,
different
we do need
positions.
more depth.
And we need depth, and
I agree with that.
that's why I admire the likes of Man City and Chelsea, because you can injure their players, but they can still come at you stronger. And that they're just so versatile. They have so much depth, especially Chelsea. Liverpool have very good starting lineup, but they don't have depth, and we saw that this year. One player
they
disrupted
had
their
depth. I think that's a little harsh. I think they had like 4 injuries to center backs.
Yeah, but I feel like it was just not enough, because they had the likes of Divock Origi and Shaqiri on the bench. I feel like if you're a
Oh,
top two,
you're doing Shaqiri a bit wrong here. To be honest, I think if we had Shaqiri, he'd start every game.
but he's played well in the Euros, definitely. But he's not. I feel like he's not a player that. I mean, all right, you can say he's good, but I don't feel Divock Origi is extremely poor. And I mean, you have 19 years old, 20 years old on the bench, but I mean, it's just something that we need to improve in. And I feel like Marcel Sabitzer for 15 million is, like you said, a bargain.
I agree with you I agree with you about all the points you made, except for the fact that I don't think Sabitzer's that player. We've talked about another need for a goal threat other than Kane and Son, and Sabitzer has only ever scored more than 4 in the past 4 seasons, he's only scored more than 4 non-penalty goals once, and that's in the Bundesliga. Like I said, a league that is thought to be a lot easier than the Premier League. Like I said earlier, Timo Werner really excelled in the Bundesliga, and he's really struggled in the Premier League, and that's playing with players like Mason Mount, Ziyech, Kai Havertz, all creating for him. And then I don't think Sabitzer is that player. He might be a slight improvement on Lo Celso, but I don't think we're going to sell Lo Celso this summer. And you talk about depth. I think we have. Sorry, let me just finish this point really quick. I think we have enough depth in those like kind of holding mid or like deep line playmaker spots with Dombele, Lo Celso, Skip, Højbjerg.
especially if we get Pjanic.
Yeah, and then if we get Pjanic, I think that's more than enough. Especially since Pjanic is on a free, which is the only reason I want him more than Sabitzer. But what we really need is someone to play in that attacking mid role who can provide the goals and the assists. And I don't think
Yeah.
Sabitzer is that player.
Yeah, I
Personal
totally
opinion.
agree because I mean I wouldn't mind Sabitzer at all, but I've watched him in the Euros. He's been very impressive with holding up the ball, moving it forward and stuff. But he hasn't actually, taken shots and stuff. He's really similar to Lo Celso with his position, because Lo Celso rarely shoots, but he does move the ball forward and keeps it well, and creates a few chances. So yes, he's slightly better than Lo Celso, but to be honest, if Lo Celso plays on top of his game, they're pretty much the same level. So yeah, I think we need someone more that can put the ball in the net, someone like the old Dele Alli, that kind of position.
Yeah, I totally agree.
But yeah, I think we've stretched it a bit. I think we should be finishing now,
Yeah.
because we've really gone over everything.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for listening. We appreciate you all. Remember to follow us on Instagram and on Twitter. It's at One Hotspur Pod. We're trying to build this up a little bit more, so we'd really appreciate it. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's One Hotspur. We're trying to get to 100 in the next few weeks, so we'd appreciate the support. And we'll catch you all in the next one. Come on, you Spurs.